I have chosen to compare and contrast the movie School of Ties, directed by Robert Mandel, with Keeping Up with the Steins, directed by Scott Marshall. At the surface, both of these movies seem to be polar opposites, but I truly think that there are some interesting similarities between the two. Don't get me wrong, there are also some very unique differences, like the years in which the movies took place. They were totally different, for example, but in total, there is definitely something to say about the way in which these movies cross paths. So, to start, besides being both known as Jewish movies, the most basic commonality is going to be the fact that the two main boys in each movie, Benjamin Fiedler, and David Green, both struggle to associate their Judaism into everyday lives. So with Benjamin, in Keeping Up with the Steins, he deals with actually learning about his bar mitzvah and his Haftorah and incorporating that. And with David, in School Ties, he deals with continuously being Jewish and practicing his religion while also keeping it a secret. In both of these ways, there is something really important that these boys will learn about themselves and their heritage and their family. Although the plot and the setting of the movies are pretty different, the theme seems to be similar in that both boys have grown up by the time the movie ends. To simplify a couple of things, I've made a general list of similarities and differences. The lists are not just straight facts, they have details. I will start with the similarities. So both Benjamin and David are viewed as trendsetters, and towards the end of each movie, they are both seen as heroes and have sort of defied against the norm. Both Benjamin and David don't end up with the girl at the end of the movie. Benjamin, because he finds out that the girl is actually really annoying and stupid, and David doesn't end up with the girl because she finds out that he's Jewish and she doesn't want anything to do with him. Both Benjamin and David do things much differently than their friends would do. For example, Benjamin's friends have really large bar mitzvah and bat mitzvah parties and care about the attention, while Benjamin wants a more small, meaningful get together with the people in his life that are most important. And David is a trustworthy guy. He wants to tell the truth about the situation, while his friends are more about like ratting each other out and just making sure that, like, being selfish and making sure that they're okay. Both Benjamin and David seem to take an interest in sports, whether to fit in society or because they actually do like sports. So Benjamin decides haphazardly that his bar mitzvah theme should be at the Dodge, like baseball, and they should have it at the Dodger Stadium, which is not actually something he wants. And David plays on the football team, which I think he does because he actually likes the sports and he actually got a scholarship to the school. So that's why. Both Benjamin and David are honest boys. Like I mentioned before, Benjamin tells his grandfather that he had some alcohol, and he was honest about that. And David is honest with the cheating scandal. Towards the end of the movie, he confesses even though he didn't do it. Both Benjamin and David have people in their lives that remain loyal to them throughout everything. So David has a couple of buddies in his school that remain loyal to him, and Benjamin has his good friends from Hebrew school, and also his family members. Both Benjamin and David come to learn the significance of having Jewish values. David learns it sort of the hard way, and Benjamin learns it a more easy path, I would say. Both Benjamin and David know how to use their Jewish values to stand up for themselves and what they believe in. David fights for what he wants, and Benjamin does the same. Both boys have families that dislike the way that David and Benjamin's families do things. So David's friend Dylan, his family is kind of thrown off by the fact that David is Jewish, and that's sort of the whole big thing in the movie. And Benjamin, his parents' friends don't like the way that his bar mitzvah is because it's too lazy and there's not really any extravagance to it. And lastly, both Benjamin and David end the movie with their heads held high, knowing that they did the right thing, and they are both considered to be real Jewish mensches. The differences of this movie are also in a list. So Green comes from a working class family, while Benjamin comes from a wealthy family. Green actually plays sports, and Benjamin can barely do virtual fishing. Um, Green's friends are against Judaism, while Benjamin's friends are with him in Hebrew school, so they know he's Jewish and they stand with him in that. Um, David instantly starts a relationship with a girl from a nearby school and has the charming mannerisms that allow him to have a relationship with her and win her over and treat her right. While Benjamin doesn't even know how to flirt and tries to talk to a girl in his Hebrew class but fails miserably. But that doesn't matter because she ends up to be annoying. Green's family is not so involved in the movie besides some minor scenes, while Benjamin's family is involved in every single aspect of the movie. Green rats his friends out for cheating because that's what's the right thing to do. And in the scene where Benjamin is drinking alcohol with his friends and he tells his grandfather, he doesn't even tell his grandfather that his friends were with him drinking. He just tells his grandfather that he was drinking. So he doesn't tell his grandfather about his friends. But the situation wasn't as potentially harmful as the cheating situation in Green's case. So if I were Green, I would have ratted them out too. Green trusts his classmates to make things right with the school by the fact that he leaves the meeting and leaves it up to his classmates to make the decision of whether he should stay at the school or leave, while Benjamin ignores what other people want and trusts himself to make sure that his bar mitzvah is what he wants. Green ends the movie with the relationship over with his best friend. He doesn't have a best friend anymore, while Benjamin ends the movie with the relationship of his father and his grandfather being even stronger than it had been. The approach taken in School Ties was one that put Green on the defensive, whereas the theme in Keeping Up with the Steins always had Benjamin on the offensive. He was always a step ahead of what was happening, whereas Green always seemed to be a step behind what was happening. One huge observation that I saw was that besides the differences between both movies, by the end the main characters were both considered winners. They themselves won the battle they were fighting, and their families, whether they were with them or not, both thought highly of the boys. It's pretty cool to me to take these two polar opposite movies and find such an interesting commonality, because especially a commonality that a viewer would never have expected. They're different ages, they're growing up in different times with different types of friends and family, and yet both of these boys go through a struggle to prove their manhood with girls, with sports, and with friendships. It seems to me that when a Jewish male is observed in a film, there's always a big win at the end. Like there would never be a movie where the Jewish male character doesn't win at the end. So the argument was won, the problem was solved, or a team literally wins, whatever it is. I think it would be hard to find a Jewish film that leaves the main male character hanging. From a film perspective, these movies are so different. The filming is different, from the lights to the sound. The general genre of the movies are different. One is a comedy and one is a sports movie. Even the reviews were different. School Ties was around a 68% on Rotten Tomatoes, and Keeping Up with Steins was around a 36% on Rotten Tomatoes. So in that aspect, they're completely different. Both boys are mensches, and this is what makes these Jewish films in the canon of Jewish films. Throughout both films, the viewer can see how the characters' Jewish values come into play. Their Jewish values are ones that lead the main characters to make hard decisions that will impact lots of people, like with Benjamin and his bar mitzvah and changing his plan, and with David and leaving the school. I absolutely know that both of these movies would be considered by most, if not all, viewers to be considered Jewish films.